if you're interested in riding bikes, scooters, or mopeds, which is something that might be only specific to some regions, you might know about this company. They're a company that are making transportation much more sustainable while reducing our carbon print. Let's welcome Catherine on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, where she will tell us about her experience, how she's interested in building relationships, how her experience was when she lived abroad twice, and what she learned. Let's welcome Catherine on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom. Hi, Catherine. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, Catherine. So, Catherine, can you tell us about where you're currently working?
Yes, so I currently work for Lime. We are a micro mobility company. You might hear us referred to as a scooter company, but we feel really strongly about saying micro mobility company. But we were founded back in 2017, and our first product that we brought to market was just a pedal bike. And then shortly after that, we evolved into electric bikes, followed by electric scooters. And then now we're looking into other products like mopeds and maybe something else down the line. But our with the micromobility industry in general, and sorry for my little slip up there, the micromobility industry in general is so saturated. But one thing that makes Lime in particular so unique is that sustainability, environmental sustainability, transportation equity really is at the forefront of who we are and what we do. Before we launch
That
into
makes
any
sense.
city, we're really clear on making sure that we work with our city partners themselves on understanding, what are the challenges that your city faces, what's important to you from a carbon footprint, and doing whatever we can to really make sure that we can provide people with alternative forms of transportation other than a car that are safe, fun, easy, affordable, and both carbon free and electric free,
That makes
or
sense,
and
and
fully
that's
electric.
wonderful. That's wonderful because I remember when I was in San Francisco, California, the hills there, if you've ever been to California, the hills there, they're a
So
nightmare,
bad.
specifically when you go for dinner and you come back, you lose all the calories that you ate and you get hungry again by the time you reach on top of the hill. So Lime
100%.
used to be my go-to place for specifically for a scooter, specifically because I love scooters. And I was like, okay, I mean, I don't really have to burn a lot of calories, and I used to go on top of the hill without any issue. So I think just the convenience, just like having something like that on your feet, is something that's so comfortable and gives you so much ease, because sometimes you're just tired and you don't want to take an Uber, you don't want to take a Lyft. So something like this is definitely really useful, and we're grateful that you've actually designed this, if you that like you work with cities and making sure that the product that you launch is specifically catered to that city, which is something that's so important. So thank you so much for being a part of a company that is definitely making a difference in this world, Catherine.
Absolutely. No, the mobility industry is something I've been really passionate about for a while. Before Lime, I was at Uber and, loved the idea of providing just alternative forms of transportation for people. And Uber obviously then purchased their own micromobility subsidiary called Jump. And I was really, really interested in that. Like, yes, like we need more options other than just cars, right? And so coming to Lime was just a very natural progression. And now Lime actually owns Jump. So it all worked out in the end.
Of course. Well, Catherine, because you've been in the talent industry where you've been helping people get jobs, specifically in the non-tech field, according to you, what are some things that people miss out on that decreases their chances of getting that dream job because they didn't put in as much effort as they could have, which could have increased their chances at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed in my career as a recruiter is that people try to oversell themselves to a point where they actually end up selling themselves short, right? Where, you know, like like yes, we're salespeople too. Like we're trying to sell you on a job, we're trying to sell you on a company, but I can tell when you're BSing me on something and trying to make yourself seem, way better, or it's okay. And I want people to know, and I tell my candidates too, like it's okay to admit that you don't know something. It's okay to say, no, actually I don't have that experience, because for all you know, that experience might not actually be a non-starter. Like that might be okay. Um, but if you try to, create this flowery picture for me of, you know, oh, well, I may not have managed directly, but I have done this instead. It's like, no, it's okay to just say like, I haven't managed people yet, but I really would love to. Here's examples of how I have in the past. So I think just like being honest, being sincere, and also being direct in your answers. Like being concise, being clear, and being really cognizant of time management is super important in an interview with anybody.
Okay. Uh-huh. And you mentioned that you can easily tell when a person is BSing while during an interview. So can you maybe specify what are the some red flags that would help you identify being like, okay, this person is definitely lying. I can tell that he's not saying something truly, because I think all of us usually think that we're really good liars, but then again, we've not seen ourselves lie in the eyes of the other person. So how can you identify that?
The easiest way to figure it out is how long they take to actually get to the answer. Like you can ask a question, for example, have you ever managed anybody? Well, and then
Yes or
like if
no?
they start with like a well and then they start like tiptoeing around a yes or a no answer, then it's like you're trying to convince me of something that you don't have. Um, and I even experienced this last week where it's like I would ask, or yeah, I was on a debrief with some hiring managers and a hiring team, and they were saying like we would ask them these questions, but it took them like 5 minutes to get to an answer, and even then it wasn't really an answer of what I was looking for. So like again, that ties back to being direct. Like if it's a yes or no question, say yes or no instead of giving this roundabout answer.
That makes sense, because I think when I used to be interviewing and everything, I think I used to be scared of being like to admit that I don't know something.
Yeah,
But I think that just makes you human, because at the end of the day, you don't have to know everything.
totally.
But if you show the desire to learn something, I think that usually counts as a plus for you, because the company can see that you're willing to grow, that you're willing to learn from them, which is something that's essentially even more important than being like, oh, I know everything.
Absolutely.
So I can definitely see that. So
100%.
thank you for sharing that, Catherine. And Catherine, maybe the most important question that would definitely be what, as in like you work for the non-tech side, but of course, can you tell us about whether your company Lime is hiring, because it sounds like an absolute amazing company, and what positions are open, and what kind of people would you specifically want to join your company?
Yeah. So I'm actually really glad that you asked that last question because I was just on a meeting before this with our president, and he said that he literally said on this meeting, I think like the number one thing that we really need in terms of culture ads when we hire people are folks that have a bias for action, right? Like we're still very much a startup. We've been around for almost 5 years at this point, but we operate in the startup sense that, or in the sense that like we're moving so quickly. We have tight deadlines. We're constantly iterating, and what we need are people that instead of kind of stepping back and like, wow, this is too much. I need to like take time to figure it out. It's like, no, okay, let's just go ahead and figure it out. Um, but that being said, to answer your first question about the roles, we are hiring a ton still. Right now, we have over 80 full time positions available worldwide. That is across tech and non tech in locations across North America, so US and Canada, all over Europe, as well as Middle East, and then also in Asia, Australia, New Zealand. So we're definitely growing a lot, but we also look for a lot of contract employees too. Like we have our full time employees, and then we have our team of contingent workers. And these are the folks that are on the ground in our warehouses, kind of just doing the actual like doing the actual hustle of getting our vehicles to and from the market.
Okay, so there's a lot of hiring, especially because I think there's been this shift towards sustainability, because I think people are finally realizing that climate change is real,
Absolutely.
and every day, I mean, there's something that's going on with the fires in Turkey, with
Yeah,
the fires in South California. I mean, I think it's time people actually realize the consequences of their
absolutely.
actions, and I'm grateful that such companies exist where they're actually making a difference. And I mean, you're hiring, you're making a difference. So, Catherine, thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing your insights, and for sharing about your journey and how you ended up at Lime. So, thank you so much for coming on the show. That is
Of
all
course.
for
Thank you
today.
so much for having me.